Hey, what's going on, guys? Gamerdude back once again, and I've decided to revive my Just the Facts series. So, first of all, I want to open this episode by saying to my entire community, thank you for your patience with my absence and lack of content. I know I have a lot of work to do before I earn back your viewership and trust. Now, due to the C virus, or the events of the C virus, and some personal issues I've been facing, I've not really had much time, nor has there been anything worthy to produce. But with the virus dying off and the world returning to normality, there's gaming news to be presented once more, and I am definitely feeling in that gaming mood. So, with that, welcome back to Just the Facts with yours truly. So I'm making this video because something has come to my attention regarding new games, and it seems to be becoming an alarming trend. It appears several new games from various developers are cancelling last gen versions of new games to, quote, focus more on a polished product. Now, that seems contradictory considering initially, when the games were first announced, they were promised to be cross-gen games releasing both for the last-gen and new-gen systems. Now it appears the devs are going back on their own word and forcing them to be next-gen exclusives when still not a lot of people have access to the next-gen systems. But anyway, here's a couple of examples. So as you can see from the gameplay, we are going straight in with Batman Gotham Knights, or should I say Gotham Knights, because this is a Batman game without Batman, which is bold. But anyway, this week players were privileged and also excited to get another look at the highly anticipated Gotham Knights, which is set to release this October. While responses to the gameplay were somewhat mixed, I'm including in that mix, the bit of news that caught everyone's attention was that Gotham Knights is surprisingly bypassing its last-gen release. Now, this isn't the first major title to retroactively cancel its PS4 release, more on that later. But this one being so close to launch, like, remember, Gotham Knights was already supposed to be out before it faced a pushback into this year. So, however, this could be the first substantial move indicating the eventful phasing out of last-gen releases, which is the same thing we saw on the PS3 when it came to games like Uncharted 4. Now, we've discussed the potential implications from this move and what it could mean for players before in my previous video. Check that out if you haven't already. So, really, is it inevitable that the PS4 will be phased out of production like the PS3, PS2 and PS1 before it? But in a climate where the jumps between generations aren't quite as monumental as they once were, is it something all of us as gamers should be considering so soon? Or is Sony just being unfair to those who aren't lucky enough to pick up a PS5? Same with Microsoft, you know, the Xbox Series S. A lot of people haven't got their hands on that, as same with people not getting their hands on a PS5. Sony has previously stated that it would continue support for the PlayStation 4 as a platform for at least 3 more years following the launch of the PS5. The PS5's what, a year? No, not a year. 2 years old now. 2 years old. So the PS4's still got a couple of years left in it at least. So with that being said, you know, there's no immediate worry for those that still haven't managed to jump to the next generation, but it looks like this could be the start, really. You know, the pushing point for Sony and Microsoft saying, well, you need to get your hands on these systems if you want to play these games. But yeah, let me know what you think about that. Is it time to cut ties with last gen completely, or do you still prefer using the last gen as opposed to the current gen? Has this whole thing been stalled due to stock issues? Because as you may or may not know, there's been a processor shortage for the PlayStations and the Xboxes for quite a while now, and that's what's hindered the progress of more systems being released, really, because they can't make them without those processors. But anyway, this is a direct quote from Warner Brothers Studios, who are making Gotham Knights. They have said, to provide players with the best possible gameplay experience, the game will release only on PlayStation 5, Xbox Series X and S, and PC, and will not be available for the PlayStation 4 or Xbox One consoles. Now that's a big kick in the nuts, really, because pre-orders were already available for this game. So anybody that's pre-ordered it now just gets a huge kick in the nuts, because some people do prefer to buy the PlayStation 4 version and just run it on the PS5. It is cheaper that way. And that could be one of the reasons why the publisher's been like, nah, we might as well just scrap the last gen version, because people are just going to buy the last gen version to play it on the current gen. Because it does somewhat upscale it. But talking about that, it reminds me of something Sony and Xbox said at the beginning, because both of them are backwards compatible for PlayStation 4 and Xbox One games. They said that they would continue, Sony said that is, continue allowing free upgrades for PS4 games to PS5. They then later went back on this word and stopped doing the free upgrade. As you know, Spider-Man Miles Morales got the free upgrade. That was one of the first PlayStation 5 games I had, thanks to this free upgrade, Miles Morales. But Sony have since gone back on it and been like, no, we can't allow that. We can't allow free upgrades, no, because people aren't buying the games. People need to buy the same game twice. If they've got it on PS4, they need to buy it again on PS5 for the best experience. Which is, again, a kick in the nuts. But anyway, as of a couple of days ago, Gotham Knights will be available for pre-order. All four editions, because there's the standard edition, the special edition, the deluxe edition, and the ultimate edition. And the ultimate edition is about £300 and something, which is very expensive for a game. But I'm ashamed to say I've pre-ordered because the statue for it is beautiful. And yes, expect an unboxing video when that comes around. But yeah, additionally, all pre-orders will receive the custom Batcycle skin at launch, which was featured in the DC Detective Comics 233. But as you guys know, Gotham Knights is a game without Batman. It features Batman. Features Batman at the beginning, but he dies, so it's without Batman. But we step into the roles of Batgirl, Nightwing, Red Hood, and Robin. There's been a lot of backlash when it comes to the recent gameplay footage, because they've changed Red Hood to have this weird kind of spiritual ability where he can just retcon the whole traversal of the grappler around the city and sort of just do this kind of weird sort of space jump, spiritual space jump around the city. But he can still do the grappling, and when it comes to playing the actual game, I think that's what I will do. I will ditch the spiritual jumping in terms of the more conventional sort of grappling and traversal that way. But so far, as far as we know, Gotham Knights is still set to launch this October this year. But that may be subject to change, so take it with a grain of salt. Because they've already cancelled a certain gen. It doesn't necessarily mean that the game's not going to get postponed yet again. Because bear in mind, it's supposed to have already been out for a year now, so you've got to take that with a grain of salt as well. But yeah, moving on from Batman, there's another game that not many people knew was coming out because it's not had a lot of publicity. is Destroy All Humans 2 Reprobed. Now, I loved the original Destroy All Humans games on the PS2. I absolutely adored them. I must have completed them more than a dozen times. And they were ridiculously difficult for what they were. And when they announced that it was finally getting remastered, over 10 years later, it was just, oh. And then when I saw that first gameplay clip of Crypto coming down on his jetpack singing that song that he sang, that heavy metal song, I was like, this got my childhood. It's like, I need this game. This is beautiful. And they kept that retro comic book look to it as well. They didn't up it with modern CG. They just did a wonderful remaster. And once again, Grove Street Games, this is how you remaster a game. You don't just port it over from a mobile game. This is how you do it. You completely rebuild the game from the ground up, which is what has happened with Destroy All Humans, and it is beautiful. But anyway, I'm getting off topic. My topic here is Destroy All Humans 2 Reprobed, and that now has been confirmed that it won't launch on PS4 or Xbox One to, quote, avoid weaker versions. Now, initially, when this game was first announced, it was announced for the PS4, the Xbox One, the PS5, and the Xbox Series X and S. And they've gone back on it. THQ Nordic have gone back on it. They've changed their minds. They're like, no, we don't want to do that anymore. And this is the second. Well, you can call it a big title, because back in the day, Destroy All Humans was a big title. It made a lot of money. And the first remaster has made a lot of money as well, otherwise they wouldn't bother with the second. But my point being, it is the next entry into the rebooted series. But when announced, many wondered why it won't be coming to the PS4 and Xbox One. Now, in an interview with The Escapist, it was because the developers did not want a weaker version of the game. Now, is that because they're too lazy to make it on both systems? It's not really a hardware issue, because it's only a remaster. It's just been rebuilt from the ground up. It is essentially still a PS2 game, just with better graphics. So that it isn't really a hardware issue. So I don't know why they've decided not to make it for both generations. But when speaking about the game, the interviewer asked why the company was skipping the PS4, Switch, and Xbox One versions, despite the first game launching on all systems. Now, Stefan Schmitz, the guy that they interviewed, said it was very hard for them to make this choice. Either we could have had to ship the new game with potentially weaker visuals compared to Destroy All Humans 1 remake to accommodate the larger and denser maps of the second, or we would have had to forego the old gen and gain back that optimized time and give that time back to the team to make a bigger, better world and combat experience. We decided to go with the latter choice, as this allowed us to take a big step forward for Destroy All Humans 2 Reprobed in terms of visual quality. For example, we were able to place about 5 times as many objects in the levels, making them more vivid, less empty, and more believable. As a result, both we and the players have a bigger experience to play with. So I do understand where they're coming from with this. It means that they can add more visuals into the world, because Destroy All Humans 2 on the PS2, you could be walking around or flying around in your saucer, and a lot of the spaces they did feel empty. They felt devoid of life. There was only a couple of humans around for you to dissect or suck up in the saucer. And there was a lot of empty spaces in the world, like where there should be street lamps or trash cans or park benches or something. They weren't there. It was just devoid. It was just an empty space. So with them having more time to work on that, it gives them the ability to really craft in the essence of the cities that they're recreating in this game. And as you can see from the picture on screen, it gives them time to work on those visuals as well, because this background in the original PS2 game, it looked really cardboardy, you know. It looked like one of those old 1950s style sets where you could tell just by watching it that it was a set, if that makes any sense. But they've gone for the more visualized look, and of course the more comic booky look, which has made the remake so brilliant in my opinion. But Stefan explained a little more, stating the added power means more actors can be on screen, but couldn't go into any more detail without spoiling the game. But it does seem like a strange point, but that can't be all of it. I mean, after all, lots of PC players produce NPC count for console versions, but allow PC owners to go nuts with customization, like ridiculous, pointless, stupid, pathetic mods, adding in Scooby Doo or Shaggy or anything from Thomas the Tank Engine, which I really don't see how that enhances your gameplay, but whatever, do it your own. I'm not making this a video about mods. We also learned the game won't include any new areas, missions, or weapons per se, but instead the focus is on reworking the world for better presentation, similar to the first. And from the gameplay trailer, I can definitely say that they have optimized that. You know, it does look a lot better than the first game, while at the same time keeping in tune with the visuals that they used for the first game. So, again, what do you guys think? Why do you think this is happening? Do you think it is because they just want to focus more on making it a better experience on next gen systems? They think they can make it a better game by only focusing on the next gen game, or do you think that they're doing it on purpose because they just can't be asked making the same game for both consoles, just slightly downscaling it? I mean, it wouldn't even have to be that big of a downscale, being honest. It would be like 10-20% in terms of visuals. So it's not that big of a deal, really. And again, like I said, it's not really a hardware problem because the PS4 could handle it. You know, the PS5 isn't that much more advanced in terms of graphical content, except Unreal Engine 5's coming in. But most PS5 games at the moment still run with Unreal Engine 4. So it's not really that big of a hardware issue. But yeah, let me know what you guys think about that, and we'll find out when the game releases if they can actually hold up to their values. So moving on to another big AAA title that's not coming to the PS4 and Xbox One, and you'll have to bear with me because I don't have any footage from these games, so I'm just using Batman and Destroy All Humans footage, because considering that's what the majority of the video has been about. These last two bonus games. But anyway, the next game I want to talk about is the new Need for Speed game, which is really going to harm sales because Need for Speed is a very popular game. It's just as popular as Forza. And not releasing it on last-gen systems is really going to harm the sales of this game because, again, a lot of people don't have the next-gen systems yet. You know, they haven't been able to get their hands on them. And if people can't play the game on the new systems, then they're not going to be able to play it at all. So there's no need for them to buy it. And then, devs are going to whinge and be like, oh, well, we're not going to bother releasing another one then because nobody's bought it. Well, it's your own fault for not releasing it. But anyway, I've done a little digging and found out why. So as Need for Speed continues, but not on last-gen consoles, the new entry to the franchise is coming to the new systems only. But you can't really let this sit with you. I mean, for real, you just can't. I'm not a big Need for Speed fan, but I do like playing the games. And I'm talking to all people who still own PS4 and Xbox One. in this case. Your days are essentially numbered. It's been too long, and now the first major franchises are choosing to leave you all in the dust. In this case, Need for Speed is leaving you, last gen console players, in the dust because its upcoming game is not coming to everybody. I mean, it's kind of a big deal when EA chooses to not bring a franchise to as many systems as possible. EA absolutely loves money. You know, they are known for their ridiculous microtransactions, I might add, in every game from going back as far as the PS3. But they are not one to necessarily put quality first. If you've played Need for Speed Payback, then you know what I'm talking about. But they must be convinced that at this point there are enough PlayStation 5s and Xbox X and S's out there to do this, make this move. Because this new game is next gen only. But this is seriously surprising, and again, it is a big deal because if EA chooses this path, other big devs might follow suit. It could mean that after all this time, in terms of next gen games, can be dropped, and we can simply call these consoles what they are: current gen, or simply PlayStation and Xbox. This dragging along of the last gen is tiresome, and Need for Speed is also done with it. But the new Need for Speed game is set for release this November, so we can only speculate if they decide to go back on this, or if they decide to make it digital download only, or what. But for the time being, it is next gen only, which again for EA is a big statement. It's bold on their behalf. So if they really want to utilize this game and make the most out of it, you know, get the most money, because EA are just big money grabbers, then they really need to knock back the microtransactions for this game. But the news was broken by one of the big heads, Jeff Grubb, who talked about it on a podcast. He also confirmed that the setting will have a Miami underground vibe. So if you're into that, fair play. But truth be told, with games finally being next-gen exclusive, it means they don't have to double down in production. And we can finally see the true power of next-gen systems unleashed. I mean, that's not to say that I'm disowning last-gen systems, because I still use my PS4 a lot. You know, I still use my PS3. I've still got games on the PS3 that I love to play, because they're not available on the PS4 or PS5. You know, they haven't been remastered and they're not available for re-download. So I'm not discrediting them. I'm not saying, oh, well, you should get a next-gen system or you're not getting the benefit, blah, blah, blah. So don't think me biased towards them. So again, let me know what you think about this. Is it a bold move for EA? You know, have they chosen the right thing to do by doing this? You know, because while I agree they can focus more on what the devs of Destroy All Humans are doing, you know, they can focus more on visuals and level designs and more things to put in these levels and more NPCs and maybe not necessarily in terms of Destroy All Humans add more missions, but in terms of Need for Speed, you know, they can add more missions rather than focusing on working on a downgraded version for a console that they deem now to be obsolete in terms of gaming. But you'd have to look at a player statistical graph to know that, and knowing EA, they probably did do that when they came up with the idea for this game and thought, well, hang on a minute, PlayStation 5 and Xbox One S sales are up there, while PlayStation 4 sales and players are down, so we're just going to make this next-gen exclusive. But, you know, again, that's just EA being greedy. So, yeah, moving on to my next game on my list. And I do apologize. I know this video is very long and it's just about done, so don't worry about that. It's just going to be a quickie on this next one. I'm thinking Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League is going to be next. Now, that's not to say because Gotham Knights has done it. Rocksteady could go a completely different way with Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League. Because, as you guys may or may not know, the game has already been postponed. It was supposed to come out this year, but because Gotham Knights is coming out this year, I'm guessing they postponed Suicide Squad because they didn't want the two games to clash and coincide with sales, because they're both done with different studios. You know, WB Montreal's doing Gotham Knights, whereas Rocksteady's doing Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League. So, who knows? In terms of sales, it would be a lot better for them to release it on both systems. But as this video is meant to point out, it seems to be a trend, you know, and it is an alarming trend that devs are doing this, because all the games I've mentioned are AAA titles. You know, we've got Gotham Knights, Need for Speed, Destroy All Humans, and now Suicide Squad. All four of them are AAA titles. They are big sellers. You know, they are big names and big sellers. They've been big sellers for years. Anything Batman related has sold big for years. Anything Need for Speed has sold big for years. So, you know, it all comes down to that. But anyway, yeah, let me know what you guys think in the comments below. That's it for this video. I hope you all enjoyed it. And I hope I've expanded your gaming knowledge and given you an inside look into all of these games. So shout out to all subscribers, old and new. We are at over 1,200 subscribers now, and wow, I really can't thank you all enough for the continuous support and views of my content. I will continue to try and bring you the best content I can. As I said, I know I've got a lot of work to do to earn back your trust and viewership, but I'm working on it, don't worry. So if you are new to the channel and enjoyed this video or any of my other content, make sure you smash that like button and drop me a subscribe. I always sub back to new subscribers, and I do try to view any content you may be producing. So that being said, this has been just the Facts with Gamerdude. Happy gaming, and I will catch you all in the next one, guys.